What are some tips for being a successful writer? This is a question that I've received a lot over the years, and I have never really believed that I have the capability of answering it until probably within the last year or so, because that's like 2020 has been like the year where I've finally achieved some sort of success as a writer. And mind you, my definition of being a successful writer might be wildly different than another person's definition. Another person's definition might be reaching number one or top 10 in the New York Times best-selling list. But in this day and age, when there are so many different modes and means to publish books, I believe that there are different forms of success that should be celebrated and acknowledged when it comes to being a writer. For example, and I didn't believe that this would be constituted a success, but I've had people who are writers in my circle tell me this. But my book, Carbon Footprint, which is a book of poems which I released a year ago, it reached number 2 on Amazon's best-selling list for LGBTQ plus poetry and number 1 for best new releases in Amazon's LGBTQ plus poetry list. And I initially believed that my book might sell 100 copies max because I would have like friends and family and maybe colleagues buy it. However, it sold way better than I anticipated, and it's become my publisher's, like one of my publisher's top selling books. And it's been a very surreal experience for me. And thinking about it a little bit more deeply, I've realized that I've been working toward that moment for a long time because I've had this dream of getting a book published for years. So if I were to share some tips, I have 4 specific tips that might be helpful for you when it comes to pursuing a career or your dream as being a successful writer. That number 1 tip is the most important one, and that is making time for writing, because if you don't make time for it, you're not going to produce the work, therefore you won't have any work to put out there. And when I say make time for it, I don't mean like do all of it in one small window where you cram everything in and rush through it because you may not be performing at your best. You need to kind of create a routine for yourself to make time for writing. For me, I spend a lot of time like in the evening, like between 9 and midnight. I'll like have a cup of tea or a glass of wine and I'll just, cozy on down with my computer or a book and start writing, okay? Also making time to read. Like I will say making time to write and making time to read go hand in hand because sometimes in order to find inspiration as a writer, reading other people's work is very helpful. My next tip for being a successful writer is one that a lot of people don't anticipate, and that is building an audience. This has been very instrumental for me and the success of Carbon Footprint because I've been building an audience on social media for a decade or more. And this might have a lot to do with the fact that I have a vlog here on YouTube, that I do a lot of creative stuff on other social media outlets. But in this day and age, when we have so much access to technology and social media, I say use that as a very positive thing when you are preparing to produce work and get work published. The more you build an audience of friends, colleagues, people who might find interest in you, the more they're going to be passionate about your success as you move forward and publish your book. And I think that's why that's been so instrumental for me, making sure that you use social media, build that audience, post regularly about your endeavors as an artist. Like that's important. People want to know your story. And I know there's this kind of like embedded shame that we have in Western society where people don't want to read what you have to say. That's not true, okay? People are on social media for a reason. People want to stay connected to one another. They want to read what you are accomplishing, all right? So don't be afraid to use those as tools. Build your audience. You might as well start now because it's going to benefit you in the end. Recommendation / tip number 3, put your work out there. It's great to produce work, but you have to be able to put it out there. There are a lot of different places where you can go to follow publications that are putting out requests for submissions. Submittable.com is the best one that I use, but you can go to a variety of different Facebook groups, Twitter pages. There are a lot of like Facebook groups, for example, that are small scale presses that actually work and help new writers get published. So that's very important. And sometimes you'll get more success through pursuing small presses than you do big presses. Number 4, last but certainly not least, don't let rejection paralyze you from doing any work or putting your work out there. You have to realize when you submit work that some of these presses/publishers are receiving countless submissions on a daily basis. This is something that really used to get to me for a long time. In fact, I have gone like years without submitting any work because I just have been so discouraged by rejection. But once you start getting your work out there and once you start finding success, that success kind of has like this snowball effect where it continues, continues, and continues. So it's important to get your name out there, even if you do get rejected, because your name will hold a certain degree of power, okay? Because it'll be recognizable to a certain extent. If I were to come up with a number 5, I would recommend making a website for yourself, using Wix, using WordPress. Create a place for yourself where you can, put all of your stuff in one spot, post updates, post blog things, post links, so people can follow your success outside of social media even. All right. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I love all of you. If you have a passion for an art form, please pursue it. Don't be so afraid of rejection, because there will be a place that homes your work. Your work will find a home one day. All right. I love you all. And if you have any questions, let me know down in the comment section. Bye.